Recently, an Arizona sheriff named Mark Dannels shared an urgent letter on Facebook, and I would love for you to read the whole letter, but I want to share just a couple of excerpts from it. He writes, "The current conditions on the border are impacting public safety in our communities and by any reasonable measure constitute a humanitarian crisis. We remain immersed in politics rather than solutions." In Cochise County, Arizona, they have a sophisticated camera system along the migrant routes across the border. These cameras detect significantly more traffic than our federal partners report capturing. In fact, our estimates are that only 28% of the people crossing illegally are taken into custody. Now, I want you to think about the numbers that we have. Think about the numbers that have crossed already. If that's only 30%, the numbers are staggering. And where are these people? TCOs, transnational criminal organizations, are exploiting the migrant crisis to ensure the redirection of law enforcement resources away from the interdiction of illegal drugs into this country. They know that increased migrant traffic, especially children, overwhelms resources and essentially gives them the unfettered ability to traffic drugs into the U.S. Make no mistake, this is a deliberate tactic. On top of a public safety and humanitarian crisis, we may now add a public health crisis. There should be an outcry from those persons who have expressed concern about the COVID pandemic. Arizona's border sheriffs are not interested in the politics of the current crisis or perceived political ideological victories. We need policies from Washington, D.C. that discourage rather than incentivize undocumented immigration. The time for politics and partisanship has passed. Sheriff Dannels is exactly right. The COVID situation alone should be enough to seal the border, especially for those who are panicked over the COVID crisis. Right now, we have in the center of Dallas, Texas, we have a convention center that is filled with illegal aliens who have not been tested and can come and go apparently as they please. Due to Mexico's extremely low rate of testing, we have no idea how bad it is. The death toll, however, in Mexico is probably around 300,000. Just last Friday, Argentina suspended flights from Mexico. All of our schools are closed. Yet migrants and minors are flooding over the border, and we're housing them. And we are not giving money to the cities, especially down on the border. On President Biden's first day in office, he signed an executive order halting construction of the border wall. Now Sheriff Dannels is here to point out that the unfinished portions of the border have simply provided infrastructure, mainly roads, for the drug cartels. It is, according to a study, it is now a multi-billion-dollar business for these cartels, human trafficking. The same report finds that in order to pass through the territories of drug traffickers, migrants have to pay drug taxes or cartel taxes, as much as $180 million a year. What are we doing? Our elected leaders refuse to come back to common sense. Some issues must be apolitical, and this is one of them. And if they won't make it apolitical, we must insist that they do. And we must insist not to play politics on the border. Just talk about the real facts. Sheriff Dannels is here with us now. Sheriff, how are you, sir?
Good, Glenn. The letter says it all.
It really does. It is very, very clear. Tell me what is happening in Cochise County.
Well, to understand where we're at today, it's best to understand where we came from. And you hit it in your intro with me, was the fact that President Trump, I worked this border for 37 years. President Trump was the first president to actually emphasize and do everything he can within his power to secure our border.
Right.
It's not immigration, two different programs, border security. And we were very close with him, sheriffs, police chiefs, mayors, governors, DHS, CBP, all the way through in his administration. When President, and we've come so far, we truly have. It's the best it's been. The ranchers tell me, everybody asks, well, how do you know it's the best it's been? First of all, our stats show us that. Second of all, the people who live on the rural border down here, the ranchers, the farmers, the citizens say this is the best it's been in 3 decades. So that's the best measure of a test. So we come up to current time when President Biden signed the executive order day one, which obviously was politically driven, ideology driven. When he did that the first day, it sent a message to the cartels and to those vulnerable people that, hey, we're coming across. We're opening up the border. And he stopped the construction on the border, which stopped subterranean technology, revenue, resources, and the physical barrier. My 3 checkpoints are shut down in my county. I got a border patrol station shut down in my county for responding to help my deputies. I got my aerostat shut down. And I just learned Friday they removed me from the Homeland Security Council.
Oh, my gosh. Because of the letter?
I think it was a collective effort that, and they were wise in what they did. They removed the majority of every member on the Homeland Security Council, which was formed after 9/11 to help advise DHS for communities and for this country. So all but 3 people were left on the advisory council, the chair, vice chair, and a past chair. The rest of us got letters unannounced. And it starts off like this, Glenn. It says, I'm honored to address you in the first paragraph. Second paragraph, it removes us.
Wow.
What a kick. But it's the first time in history that a president and secretary, this administration, has removed anyone from that council. And what a worse time. We're in a chaos crisis on this border, and you're going to take the group that's been selected throughout the country to help advise you into the future, help you navigate these issues, and then you remove them.
So wait. So this is because I am concerned about the humanitarian crisis, but I am equally concerned. I'm not blinded by that, by what the drug cartels are doing, but also the, other than Mexicans, the Iranians, the Syrians, the fact that the drug cartels will smuggle guns and drugs and terrorists into this country. Nobody's talking about those things. So tell me, this was developed after 9/11. What could their reason be for flipping everybody on that board?
Well, and the first thing that comes to my mind, Glenn, is politics. Political ideologies. They want to have their own. They want the avoidance of this, and having people on that advisory council that speak very loud. Their business, their consultants, their federal judges, all the people that have come through that, sheriffs, police chiefs that have been now removed on that. It just silences that voice. Once again, and one thing I've seen since this has happened is the lack of transparency, the lack to share any kind of plans. In fact, in the letter, it talks about we're going to develop a plan. Well, don't you think any logic on this you'd have a plan in place before you get rid of your current members who have served honorably, I worked on the technology committee. I worked on youth violence. I worked on faith violence. Spent a lot of time to help our communities. And with again, stroke of the pen, we're gone. So again, it silences everything. There is no transparency with this. And I've spoke to DHS at senior leadership, working with the National Sheriff Association. They have no answers for us. We're past due on questions and answers in this country.
Tell me what the border wall was doing and why it was so bad to stop it on day one. What has that done?
Well, besides sending a message to the cartel that we have an open border, and that's literally the message that's been sent. We hear that from those coming across illegally because the opportunity is now, and truly they're coming across for that reason. In my county, when they stopped the physical barrier, the technology, and the resources, what that's done is left my border in disarray down here. President Trump was the first president after 3 decades to push beyond what the physical barrier was in the early 90s from Operation Stone Garden, or Operation Stone Garden, excuse me, Operation Gatekeeper and Hold the Line were two programs that kicked off our physical barrier and what it is today. President Trump pushed beyond that. The first president in 3 years or 30 years to do that. So right now we have a border that was under construction. We have 6-foot trenches, just wide open. We have low-lying areas where they're putting in bridges, where the cement culverts are in there, and they're putting the cages over so they can put the cement in there to finish the bridges. That's just sitting there, open cables hanging out of the ground. It's in disarray. It's like building a house halfway and stopping and then walking away from the project. What worries us in a couple of months when our monsoon season, our wet season hits, it's going to wipe out what they're supposed to put a brand new road along the southwest border here in my county. That's not going to happen. The whole thing's a mess. We're in worse shape now than we were when we started this project, and so it's.
And you said that there is infrastructure that the drug cartels are using, the roads, et cetera, that were made for the construction. Is that in your county?
You are correct. And what they did was up on the backside of a very, very frequent smuggling area for the cartels, because it's been concealed up there behind the mountains. They blasted roads. Took them 6 months to a year to put the infrastructure in behind the mountains back into the flatlands, just to get the equipment and the trenching up there to put the fence in. Well, they got the infrastructure in, but they never got a chance to put the physical barrier in. So now we have, I call them walking paths that are better in most national parks, where they come up and walk right down to the flatlands. And once again, it's there was no reasonable closure to this project, and as a result of this, we have chaos on our board, just on the technology and physical barrier side.
So nobody is talking. We are all talking about these kids in cages and the humanitarian crisis. What is left behind are these small communities that are right there on the borders that are getting dumped. All of these people are coming in. You know, it's a crisis because the federal government doesn't have space for them. Well, the ones that they really don't have space for, they're just putting on buses and they're just sending to cities all across the country. And the border towns are the first ones to get hit hard. And there's no help from the federal government.
There's not. You look back in 2019, Glenn, where the caravans and surges that President Trump took on and addressed. In the first 9 months, we had 141 countries hit our southwest border. And I got to say this, I know the focus is on the children. In the first 9 months, we had 3,500 children that were being exploited by the cartels. And what that means, they were coming across with an adult expedited into the country because they had a child with them. Then the children were brought back to Mexico and recycled back in the U.S. just to get people in the U.S. This cartel has its thumb and hand on everything going on in the southwest border. In my county, it's $6,000 a head to come across our country, into our country, excuse me. And then they become servant to the cartels, whether it be sex trade, drug, gangs, enforcer, whatever it may be. And unfortunately, the national media is painting a picture of these poor kids. And I agree. In 2014, when the cages first came alive, that was actually under President Obama. And again, we've evolved. And I do like your point that it seems like nobody can fix this problem. We have the most powerful leader in the country, and that's our president, but we fight it. Including President Trump, who put a lot of effort on this border. I've gone through a lot of presidents in my 37 years. I'm telling you, it's rather disgusting because it's like we're left out of the U.S. when it comes to security, being American, our constitutional rights here on the southwest border.
What can the American people do to help you?
They need to stand up and be united, because why we're the attention of the national media exclusively when it comes to the children. What's happening is everything going on in the southwest border, whether it's drugs, whether it's national security issue, whether it's a health pandemic issue, COVID, whatever it may be, it's coming into your neighborhood. We might be the gate to it all, but it's coming into your neighborhoods. They're not staying in my communities until they can find the means, or the non-government organizations can get them out of here. Right now, we see charter buses all the time, $1,500 a hit to take kids out of our county. $1,500. You see almost every day you're seeing them pulling out of my county. So the only thing holding my county right now, Glenn, with some kind of balance is Title 42, which is the health pandemic essential travel only, which means internationally we restrict who's coming in the country. In Texas, what they're doing is the state below Texas and Mexico will not let the U.S. expel them back into their state in Mexico. In my county, the state of Sonora is still allowing that. April 21st, that's supposed to expire. If that opens up, our southwest border will be flooded, not just in Texas, but flooded.
Mark, we will stay in touch with you. I'd like to talk to you some off the air. So thank you for everything that you're doing. But we'll be in touch. We're not done with the coverage, and I appreciate your letter, and I appreciate your willingness to speak out. Stay safe, and don't give up on the rest of America yet. I know you're not going to.
I'm not going to. I have hope in my oath. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Dannels.